Amendment by Turner of Harris.
Chair recognizes Representative Sylvester Turner.
While Representative Laudenberg looks at the amendment to decide whether or not it's acceptable, let me lay it out. I'm not going to repeat the conversation that we just had with Representative Donna Howard. Essentially, while the Committee on State Affairs was discussing this issue, the representative from the Texas Hospital Association indicated that most hospitals do not grant admitting privileges. What this amendment simply does is that it says that a physician performing or inducing an abortion is not required to comply with subsection A1 if each hospital located not further than 30 miles from the location at which the abortion is performed or induced has a written policy that prohibits granting admitting privileges to a physician who performs or induces abortion outside of the hospital. The reason why I'm putting forth this amendment is that I clearly understand Representative Laudenberg saying that the emphasis should be on pregnancies that are 20 weeks or more. Unless we modify the bill by virtue of this particular amendment, this bill has the effect of touching on all women who may seek an abortion, whether it's 20 weeks, whether it's 3 weeks, whether it's 4 weeks or 5. And so with this particular amendment, it doesn't change anything else in the bill. The only thing that this amendment says is that if hospitals within a 30-mile radius, if they have a written policy saying that we are not going to admit these doctors who are performing these abortions hospital privileges, then the physician is not required to comply with subsection A1 and is not subject to the criminal penalties that are outlined in this bill. That's the sole intent. I hope that Representative Laudenberg will carefully take a look at the amendment, and I hope that she will find it acceptable.
Mr. Martinez-Fisher, for what purpose, please?
The gentleman yield for some questions.
Will the gentleman yield for some questions?
I'll be more than happy to yield.
The gentleman yield.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Thank you, Representative Turner. Representative Turner, I'm trying to understand your amendment. What is the practical effect of your amendment?
The practical effect, the way the bill is written now, it requires doctors who perform abortions in clinics to have hospital admitting privileges. And based on the testimony at the State Affairs hearing, the representative from the Texas Hospital Association indicated that most hospitals in the state will not grant hospital admitting privileges to these physicians. So this amendment simply says that if a hospital has a written policy of not granting admitting privileges to these physicians, then the physician need not comply with section section A1 of the bill, and not subject to the criminal penalties that are in the bill itself.
Well, Representative, you're a member of the State Affairs Committee, aren't you?
Yes, I am.
And it seems like that makes sense. Why didn't you offer that as an amendment to the committee?
Representative Martinez, I intended to have offered this amendment as well as 2 other amendments that I've filed today. I intended to offer this amendment to the State Affairs Committee when we were discussing it at the end of hearing the testimony. It was my intent to offer this amendment as well as 2 others that I'm now offering today.
Were you given a chance to offer that amendment?
Not at the time of the hearing. We had public testimony that started on Tuesday, July the 2nd. That started at about 3:34, went up until about 12:01, and then at 12:01, the chairman ended the public testimony and wanted to proceed to the closing with Representative Laudenberg. I asked about an opportunity to speak, and then I was intending to lay out the amendments at the end of that public testimony, but was not given an opportunity.
So Representative Cook cut the committee time off at midnight. I know that was a representation that was made on the House floor before the hearing, but Representative Cook made true on that representation that the committee action would stop at midnight?
He held true to his position that he cut off the testimony at 12:01 the following day.
And so you didn't get the opportunity to put the amendment on in committee, I imagine, after the testimony ended at 12:01. I imagine at some point Representative Lautenberg was asked to close on her bill, and
That's correct. No one was given an opportunity to present any amendments to be considered. In fact, no one was given an opportunity to discuss what we had heard from 4 o'clock the previous day up until 12:01. The chairman proceeded to an immediate, asked Representative Jordan Lautenberg to close on her bill, and then proceeded to an immediate vote.
well, I see from the record that the committee adjourned at 12:12 a.m. Is that your recollection?
I would say the committee adjourned at approximately 12:15 a.m.
And how many minutes did the vote take prior to the 12:15 adjournment?
The vote was immediately taken once it started.
So was there any business in the committee after the vote was taken other than a motion to adjourn?
That was it.
That was it. So there was a vote of the committee vote is reflected, and then there was an adjournment of the committee subject to call by the chair?
That is correct.
Thank you. Madam Speaker? Madam Speaker, I rise to raise a point of order under Rule 4, Section 32B, 4, and Rule 4, Section 18.
Please bring your point of order down front.